What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm J-Lag.
And I'm NB.
And this episode is recapping and reviewing Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Season 2, Episode 8. And it's called Chapter 19, The Mandrake.
And don't forget, guys, stick around for the ending because we are going to go through our recap roundups, our best moments, our best lines. So be sure to stick around for that.
And as always, to our continuing listeners and our brand new ones, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into the episode, y'all.
Ooh, y'all.
What did you think of this episode?
Good.
My God.
It was really good. I think they are on a really cool track of the storyline working for them. The plot is really juicy. I'm really excited to see what happens.
Same. I think that because this is the episode right before the finale, everything ramps up this episode, and it got really magical this episode, which was really cool.
Yeah, it did.
With the twin and all that. So let's get into it because there's a few subplots, and then there's the major plot with the Mandrake spell. So let's start off at the school because we can get rid of that quickly. It's kind of its isolated situation. So first, right off the top, Blackwood is changing the Church of Night now to the Church of Judas. And so they've gotten rid of the statue that got broken down last couple episodes ago.
I made a note about it. And it was funny because when we did see this part, I was like, it's such a funny way for them to get rid of the statue that they basically got sued for. Yeah. I was like, don't worry, guys. I noticed that. It was a very sneaky way.
So they got rid of the statue, and now it's the statue of Blackwood himself. And it's really creepy because now it's not because I think originally it was two children sitting in front of him. Now it's just a woman holding his hand. So it's very representative of how he's trying to manage the church and all that, right?
Right.
So obviously there's going to be some people who are not okay with this. Most of the school is what the hell's going on? One of them specifically is the girl that was resurrected by Sabrina. I don't remember her name exactly, but she basically tries to leave, and she gets sent to the Blackwood's office. I think that Prudence is the one that tells on her, and Zelda's sitting in the room, and Blackwood is basically well, now you're going to have to get executed because you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to leave the church. And right away, Zelda is trying to be her Stepford mom lifestyle because she's still pretending to be a Stepford wife, but she's not able to show that she has no control over herself. So she's like, do you think that is wise, sir? It is maybe a bad idea to do that because everybody else is going to start detracting if they use her as an example and kill her off.
Right.
So Prudence kind of starts to notice that Zelda at this point in time is acting a little bit more on her free will, but Blackwood doesn't even give a shit either way. He's not even paying attention. And so Prudence says, if we do this to her, then maybe it's not a good idea. We can't show that to the rest of the students. And so the girl gets sent to the witch's prison, basically, right? The witch's cell. Right. And, while this is all happening, Zelda decides to go visit her at her own free will. And she brings her a basket of food, and she's like, don't worry, it's fine. And Prudence finds her in there, and she's like, I fucking knew it. You were broken. Your spell is broken. I'm going to go tell on you. I'm going to tell my daddy on you. And then Zelda's like, don't worry. He's going to freaking betray you at some point in time too. You're being so stupid right now. And Prudence just dips. She doesn't hear her. She dips. So,
yeah, and it's really interesting because this entire time I'm wondering what's gonna hit Prudence, what's gonna get her to be yeah, my dad's a fucking shady asshole. And so you're kind of just waiting for it. But I think watching Zelda and watching Prudence together is such a interesting dynamic because she kind of is her mom too now, especially that she's married her dad. So you're rooting for them to work it out and be on the same team the entire time. Yeah,
for sure. So as soon as that happens, Zelda gets sent to Blackwood's office, and right away, Prudence is sitting in the corner, and she sees not only does she see Judas, who's sitting there like in his crib, but Letitia's now back with Letitia back though. And as soon as she sees Letitia, like she breaks her fakeness.
The Caligari thing, like, yeah. She's like, oh, what's going on? And then he's like, the spell's broken.
I knew
dumbass.
Yeah. So basically, as soon as that happens, Prudence is like, yeah, I done did this. I like brought her from the witch's woods. And Blackwood like goes off on Zelda. He's like, I can't believe you betrayed me. Like, how could you do that? And Zelda's
and like everything was going well. Everything was going well for Prudence, and she's like, she's like, I'm such a good daughter, and everything's so good. And then even Blackwood's like, yeah, like now, like I have another daughter, and like all my kids are with me. And he's like, I can't wait till they turn 16 because I'm gonna make them marry each other.
Yeah.
And then Prudence was like,
so
then Prudence was like, what the fuck? Like it took her to that moment to be like, my dad might be a creep.
Might be a crazy person. Yeah.
She like instantly obviously regretted it because she's like, oh my God, Letitia's like gonna get married off.
Right. And on top of that, Zelda like pulls like a very smart move, and she pulls a knife on Prudence and holds her like she holds her throat, and she's like, I'm gonna slit her throat if you don't let Letitia go. And Blackwood basically doesn't even say anything. Yeah. And I think this is the moment where Prudence is like, wow, he doesn't give a shit about me.
Yeah, especially, of course, yeah. He literally looks at her, he's like, it's okay. He's like, I have another daughter anyways.
So fucking tight. And I'm like, finally Prudence can like now move on with her life, and she can be like, fuck my dad, he's such an asshole.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty tight moment because like
so
Blackwood
stupid.
He's so dumb.
Like,
he should have played it better.
Exactly. He should have played it better. He, she kind of like, played him right in that moment, and he just like fed into her so easily. So yeah, it was like really stupid.
So she gets sent to the witch's jail now, and Prudence later on releases her, and because she realizes all these things, and like, Prudence is like,
yourself.
Go be yourself, go be happy. And Zelda's like, don't worry, girl, I'm going to come back for you. I'm going to go talk to the Witches' Council and everything will be fine. So while all this is happening, meanwhile, Hilda went to go talk to the council herself and tried to see if they could like do anything for her. They obviously did nothing for them, like at all. And it just reminds you that this is all like a male patriarchy. It's all these old fucking witches or warlocks, and they're all just sitting on their thrones and they're not doing anything for the women. And so Hilda pieces out, but then later on, I don't know, they don't really talk about how this happens, but Methuselah, which is one of the guys on the council, he ends up like having this like side conversation with Hilda at the house. And so when that happens, Methuselah is like creepishly like talking to her. He's like, yeah, I'll help out your family or whatever. Like everything will be fine. Don't worry about it. As long as you like do some like extra like wink, wink, wink stuff for me. And he like touches her leg, and Hilda's like, ooh. Yeah. And it doesn't show it, but basically the next scene that we see is Zelda finally finding her way back to the house, and she's like, I just got out. Blackwood is crazy. We need to go talk to the council again. And Hilda's like, about that though, like I kind of like maybe just like possibly killed someone. And it shows Methuselah, and basically she used all of her familiars, like the spiders, to wrap Methuselah in some web, and he's basically like dead now. So Zelda's like, oh shit, we're like totally fucked now, because like what are we gonna do now?
It's definitely gearing up for like the women to be like lined up against the men. So I'm excited for that showdown.
It's like Handmaid's Tale, like just like witch version.
Yeah.
So moving on from that storyline, because I'm sure it's going to wrap up by next episode, we're going to talk about the prophecy itself. So going back to last episode, when they all find out that the prophecy has to do with, Sabrina and this little painting that she found in the cave, it's a really cute moment because it's all four of them, but then it's plus like Nick. So it's Theo and Roz and Harvey and Sabrina, and then Nick is kind of sitting there at the diner with them, and they're trying to like decode everything and try to figure this whole thing out. And I think it's what's his name? It's Harvey, who decides to like draw it out, and he's like, I just like keep seeing it, whatever. And Sabrina's like, can I borrow this? I need to go talk to Wardwell because she probably knows a little bit more about this. So they all like fuck off. And it was a really interesting moment. And I loved it too because the gang, you can tell that there's still, even though there's like this bigger issue happening, they don't forget the fact that there is real problems between the dynamic of the group. And in this moment, this is when Roz calls out Harvey and is like, yo, you like said that you loved Sabrina. Like, what the fuck was up with that? And it was so funny because Theo is like, I'm going to go.
Yeah, Theo's like, bye.
Like, so awkward. And so Roz and Harvey finally have like a little conversation about how much like they love each other or whatever. And it was really cute. I was happy to see that they don't like leave things. And it's one of the things that I find stopped happening a lot in Riverdale, if we want to make any comparisons, where in Riverdale, there would be all these like really awkward relationship issues, but no one would talk about them until they like got to the next, like 3 episodes in. You know?
I would say not even that. I would say like they didn't even feel any type of way. Like when Veronica sees Archie and Josie, like she doesn't even have a moment to be like, am I okay with this? Like, so for Roz to be like, look, like, do you love her? Like, for her to stop the conversation and be like, make me feel better. It was such a real moment. And they did it right. Like, without being too naggy and too desperate on Roz's part. Like, it all made sense and it all, like, worked. So, yeah, sure. I appreciated it. It was cute.
Yeah, 100%. So, moving on from that story, we go to Wardwell and Adam. So, Sabrina and Nick are on their way to Wardwell's place. And meanwhile, Wardwell is talking to Adam. And she's like, yo, you need to kill Sabrina. She's like the biatch in the situation. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, he doesn't talk, but he's now going to go and try to kill Sabrina later. But then he hides when Nick and Sabrina show up. And basically, based on the drawing, Wardwell tells her all the information. Like, looks like you're the Herald of Hell. And Sabrina starts to freak out because she's like, what does that even mean? Like, does that mean that I have too much power? Like, what's going on? And Wardwell decides to tell her to use the Mandrake spell to bind her powers. And what happens with the Mandrake spell is basically you make a twin version of yourself with this like plant, and then you kill the plant once they absorb all your powers. And that will make her immortal again. And she'll have 0 powers left.
Right.
So Sabrina's like, cool, thanks, bye. She like literally fucking dips and she leaves with Nick. And like I mentioned, Wardwell says to Adam, like, go kill her once you're able to. So he's like on his own mission. So on the way out, Nick literally says like 700 times, do not do anything until I do more research. Do not do anything until I do more research. She's like, cool, I won't, I promise. She's like a 5-year-old girl and she like crosses her fingers and she's like, I promise I won't. I'm like, these are the moments when like you want to like
shit's about to happen.
Yeah, and you just want to like kill Sabrina. You're like, girl, can you just like chill for like 1 fucking second? You found out about this like a minute ago.
I did.
Then now you're
I did
freaking
appreciate how much work Nick put in this episode, because I've been kind of like ripping on him a little bit to be like, is he actually like doing anything? But he really did like want to like dive into the research and like he tried to find answers for her. So
and then she like done fucked everything.
Yeah,
up.
Exactly.
So that's happening. So she goes back home and she talks to Ambrose right away, and she's like, I know I'm not supposed to do anything, but I'm gonna do this like next level spell to strip my powers. And Ambrose basically tries to like break it down, because it's almost like we're back at episode 1, season 1, where he says, you know, you're gonna die like every other mortal in your life, and it's like we're gonna grow older and you're just gonna like die eventually, right? And she still decides to do it anyway, and Ambrose is like, well, if you're gonna do it, then I'll help you.
I'll help you, yeah.
So they go into the basement. They don't fucking tell the ants, obviously, because they're like busy doing their own thing. But they're downstairs, and he hooks her up to the Mandrake, and like you sleep for like 8 hours or whatever. You wake up, and then you kill it once it's like full grown. So he's like, don't worry, I'll stay up. I'll like watch you while this whole transaction's happening. Sure enough, he fucking falls asleep.
Of course.
And they wake up and they see the Mandrake is like nothing. Nothing happened to it. It's still like sitting there. And she's like, oh shit, I guess that the magic spell didn't work. Instead of like questioning it at least like one more time.
Yeah.
They're like, they didn't even like, they're like, how did it not work? This is like a foolproof plan.
Yeah.
Like they literally are just like, oh shit, okay, we got to do this like next thing. And it was kind of cute because they referred to Sweetwater River, which is in Riverdale.
That was really cool. And I was kind of hoping we would see that a little bit, just because like I wanted the throwback. I wanted like the connection to be there.
The connection. Yeah, for sure. But anyway, we don't see it. So she's like, okay, so now she's going to do this next spell where she has to like bury herself in mud, or I don't remember what it is. Like
it basically gets Sabrina and Ambrose to like dip again and kind of be by the river for the entire day. So everything kind of gets, they get pushed to the side and we continue on with the main storyline, which is like her twin obviously being born,
like being born and doing all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that in a second, because while she's doing that, she finally gets home and she's all like muddy and shit. So then she goes to take a bath. Obviously, this girl takes like 17 baths in like, I don't know how many baths this girl has taken in all these episodes so far. But anyway, she's sitting in the bath one more time. And while she's in the bath, Nick is, I think, downstairs and he's like researching more. He's like reading his book. And she's getting like choked, and like Adam is there, and he's literally trying to kill her. She screams, and Nick, I don't know how he knew this, but he basically like grabs like the thing from his chest and pulls out the rib.
I don't know if he knew about it, because there was a struggle for a couple of minutes. Like he was trying to like beat him up. It wasn't like he like right away went and took it out. Because I was wondering the same thing. I was like, did he know that there's like a rib like that he has to take out? But they do fight for a couple of minutes, and then I think he just kind of like randomly like pulls something out, I guess. I don't know. I'm hoping he knew what was up, because that would have made more sense on his part. But yeah, he basically pulls out the rib, and then like Adam like falls apart. He like dies.
Yeah. And I don't know what the connection is and how they realize that Wardwell is behind all of this, but they make the connection that basically this person is sent to kill Sabrina, and this rib is from somebody. Does he do a spell? Do you remember? Like, why?
Yeah, now I'm trying to remember what the F happened. I don't remember how they thought.
I think he does do something where he like finds out somehow whose rib it is. And then they pinpoint that it's Wardwell, and then all these connections start happening. She's like, oh my God. She's the one that, told me to do this spell and this spell and this spell to fulfill the prophecy. Because once the prophecy's fulfilled, then the gates of hell will open. And
I think it was more of him being like, if you cross off these 7 things or whatever, you become the herald of hell. She's like, wait, I did literally all of those things. And every single time I was with Wardwell, or like Wardwell made me do it, or she led me to it. And then they were like, oh my God, like who would want you dead, or who would want you to fulfill all those like 7 things, whatever. Right. So then they're like, okay, like it's her.
And then they make the connection. So then they head straight to Wardwell's place. And they're like, what the fuck, girl? They bind her right away so she can't do anything. And then she's like stuck in her chair the entire time. And she doesn't give away all of her information. She doesn't say like, I'm Lilith. She doesn't say anything like that. But they know that she's working for the Dark Lord, and that she's not like like a regular witch that she had claimed to be this whole time. So I'm really glad that they finally got to this by second season, because I was like, how long is she going to play this like pretend ally to Sabrina? How long is that going to take? So finally, like, it gets to this point, and they like bind her, and she realizes in that moment that maybe the Mandrake is still out there doing stuff, because she doesn't have any of her powers anymore. Like, Sabrina,
she's not as strong.
She doesn't, like, she literally has no powers left. So while this is all happening, Nick stays with Wardwell and like continues to read the book or whatever. And then Sabrina's like, I'm going to go find my Mandrake. And then once I finish like with my Mandrake, I'm going to come back and I'm going to kill you, bitch, because you done fucked me up. So she heads out to find the Mandrake. And now I'm going to cut to like all of Sabrina Mandrake version storyline. Right. Yeah. So it turns out that Sabrina's Mandrake actually did come to life, but she was being like typical Sabrina, and she like snuck out and she like replaced it, and like she wants to like live her own like independent best life as a Mandrake. So I love this, by the way. Like, I thought it was a really cute way to show a different side of Sabrina. What did you think about it?
No, I loved it. I think it made sense. I think it shows like the duality of like who Sabrina is.
Yeah.
It was cool. And it was cool to see how her friends were reacting to like this new different version of Sabrina.
Yeah. So she goes to basically visit all of Sabrina's friends. First, she sees Hilda early in the morning and she's like, "Can I get a hug, please?" And already, like, Hilda's like, "This is weird. Like, you never asked me for hugs." And Sabrina just like dips. She's all like jolly or whatever. Or the Mandrake Sabrina dips. And she goes to visit Harvey. So she goes to Harvey and she breaks it down. She's like, "I love you. You know that I love you. And I know that you love me. So you should just break up with Roz and we should be together." And already coming off of that whole reassurance with Harvey and Roz, Harvey's like, I don't think that at all. We're still really close. I'm sorry if you got the wrong impression, but this is not what it's all about. And then Sabrina Mandrake gets like really ticked and her eyes go white, and then we don't really know what happens until a little bit later, but she like flashes him. She like puts him in some sort of flash, and then it cuts to like the next person. So then she goes to see Roz, and this was really funny too because Roz is basically like, "What's going on, Sabrina?" She's like, "So I know that we're like besties or whatever, but we shouldn't like fight over our boys. So I'm gonna take Harvey back, and you can just be my best friend again." And Roz is like, "You were wrong.
No.
Like, he's my man now." And she touches the Mandrake Sabrina, and that's how she finds out that Sabrina, like the Mandrake version of Sabrina, is not the real one. And like we find out that kind of part of the story too. So we see it in her cunning. So one of the things, and I don't know if we like clarified that last episode, but it looks like she does still have her cunning.
She does, yeah. Yeah.
What do you think about the fact that they just kept her cunning?
I don't know. I was kind of shook because I was like, "Oh, look, they're not even gonna address it. Cool.
Yeah.
We're just moving forward. She still has the cunning. Like everything is good. Okay.
Yeah.
Like it was just kind of like, oh, okay."
I was okay with it because like I said last episode, I don't know if I'd be okay with her just losing all of her powers. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, they didn't really address the fact that she's no longer cursed, but she still has the power. But whatever, we'll like run with it. Anyway, even though Roz sees that, she ends up getting caught by the Mandrake as well. And then finally she goes to visit Theo. And this was also like a random / like weird situation. She goes up to Theo and she's like, "Hey boy, hey, I know that you want to be like a biological boy. Like, do you want me to like help you through that?" And I love this because it's one of those moments where we've kind of been talking about it and touching upon it where, Theo now has a witch friend who can basically turn him into a real boy with like all the real parts. And he's never like come to talk to Sabrina and say, "Listen, I want to be a real boy. Can you do this for me?"
Yeah.
And so watching him say to Mandrake Sabrina, like, "It's not that easy. I'm happy with who I am. I already identify myself as a man." And it was a really powerful thing to hear. And I'm glad that like they took his character that way, because I think it just shows the reality of anybody who is transgender, because you're just because you have a best friend who does magic doesn't necessarily mean that you have to take that way out all the time. And I'm glad that they gave him the opportunity to say his piece and say like, "No, that's not what I want. I'm happy with who I am. And if I ever do decide to do it, I will like talk to you. But right now I'm like happy with what my situation is." I agree
for sure. I think he's had one of like the best storylines of the season. And it's been such a strong like character arc for him, and where he started off in the beginning with like the whole like basketball team and like the special powers that he had shooting the threes. Like now he's gotten to a place where he's like, "I don't want that. Like I want to be my true self, and like who I am is my true self. So like I'm good." It was a huge moment. It was a really, really like powerful moment, and I was really happy that like Theo had that,
had that like explanation over it too. Yeah, absolutely. So then meanwhile all this is happening, so she ends up like flashing Theo as well, like he disappears, and while she's heading like through the forest, this is also a moment that I forgot to mention earlier, but what's his name? Blackwood sends a bunch of guys to go kill Sabrina because after he hears the girl say like Sabrina is the next like prophet, like she's like the next leader, she's like the best one, he literally like says like go kill her now. So he sends off these guys and they meet the Mandrake version of Sabrina in the woods and they're like, we're gonna kill you, bitch. And she's like, why don't you guys just want to be nice to me? And she snaps all of their necks like in 5 seconds. I was like, holy shit. Like Mandrake Sabrina is pissed. So that happens and that whole situation is like done. But I'm like, wow, she's so savage. And I kind of love the fact that, you know, as Mandrake Sabrina, she doesn't have to like deal with like her moral compass so much. She's more like, I need to protect myself and I need to do this for myself. Yeah. Which I kind of loved because Sabrina, we always see her like fight this whole like, should I not use my mute magic? Like, what should I do to like help my family, whatever. But Mandrake Sabrina was more ruthless and she was like, fuck these hoes. Like, let's kill them. They're trying to kill me. So I love that. And so cutting all the way to the end where Theo basically wakes up, like fucking Aunt Dorothea, like I don't know who she is and like what she like means to Theo, but this bitch shows up one more time and she's like, wake up. She's like, boy, wake up. And I'm like, he has a name now. His name is Theo. So you can call him Theo now. So Theo wakes up first and he basically sees what's going on.
He basically like wakes everyone else up, and everyone else has like a weird version of themselves, or like Harvey does. Yeah. So like she has to kill weird Harvey. It was such a weird, just to see it visually. It was so such gross. A weird scene because like she's basically like cracking eggs. She's like destroying eggs basically. So nasty. And there's like ooze everywhere. Anyway, so she saves them. They kind of come back to life. She saves them.
And they're like, what the hell? Like, why did Sabrina do that? And then Roz is like, no, I got like my cunning on point and it's not actually Sabrina. It's like some next person. Yeah. We need to help her now. We need to save her. So they're on their way to like find Sabrina and see like if she's okay. And while that whole thing is happening, Sabrina finally catches up with a Mandrake at the house while she's talking to Ambrose. Because I think she's about to do the same thing to Ambrose. And then Sabrina's like, hey bitch, like I'm here too. And basically the Mandrake is like, I could kill you right now and like I can just take over your life because you're basically useless to me. And Sabrina tries to find a way to trick her into saying like, okay, why don't we do this the right way? We can like have like a witches duel, because like I guess Mandrake Sabrina doesn't really know like all this knowledge. And so they trick her into going to this duel and meeting at the place they were conceived, which is in the middle of the forest. And so they like dip or whatever. And Sabrina and Ambrose are like, oh shit, like what are we going to do now? And they're like, we can outsmart her because she doesn't know strategy, because she's still like a basic vegetable. Like she doesn't really like know how to like be evil. Like she just like lives her best life. So they end up back at the like area where she got baptized, and she sees her like next person, and they both have like pistols. I was like, damn, this like got serious.
I was like, where did the pistols come from?
I'm like, what the hell? So they have to like take like 5 steps backwards, like facing each other, and then on the count of 5 they turn around and they shoot each other. Whoever shoots like the person like dies, whatever. So Sabrina obviously like has a plan up her sleeve. She goes like across. She goes across with the Mandrake, and then before like it hits like 5, she turns around on 3, and then she shoots the Mandrake dead. And the Mandrake's like, you lied to me. And even though the Mandrake was like basically evil this whole episode, I like felt for this girl. I was like, don't kill her. Like, what did she do wrong? But anyway, so she starts to die. It was sad. And even Sabrina felt bad. She was like, I'm so sorry. I wish there was another way. And she basically like holds her like Mandrake version in her arms while she's dying. And I was like, oh shit. And all this while, so like
it's definitely symbolic. You know what I mean? Like it's like
for sure
the death of her like other person.
herself. Yeah. Because at this point in time, Sabrina doesn't even know like the gravity of the situation yet. And she just thinks that she's killing off like the magical side to her too.
Yeah.
Which she's come to terms with as well.
Yeah.
She's like, you're now gone and like I am basically like a normal person now. And yeah, it was a pretty like intense moment. And then in that moment, all the while this is happening, Wardwell is talking to Nick and she's getting him to read out the prophecy like properly. And he's like, she only has like one more to do and she's never going to do that one because like we stopped you from like doing it. And Wardwell's like, well, read it out. And Nick is like, well, she needs to like kill herself basically. And she tells him like, that is the Mandrake spell. Like she's going to have to kill the Mandrake and it's basically killing yourself. So if she does this, then the prophecy will be realized and like we're fucked. Like the gates of hell are going to open and the Dark Lord's going to come back. So at this point in time, did you think that Wardwell had like something up her sleeve or was she like on their side now? Like she's
no,
like,
I didn't think it was her plan. Honestly, I just thought like Sabrina just got fucked. Like it was just kind of like bad luck on Sabrina's part that, you know, she actually did complete this whole thing. Like,
but I guess that's what a prophecy is. Like eventually it does like
gonna happen. Yeah.
But it's just funny that she literally like does it on the day. She's like, I'm going to do this last prophecy piece while my boyfriend is talking to the woman who has all the answers. I'm like, this is the thing with Sabrina that really annoys me. Like she can't fucking wait for 5 fucking seconds before making a decision. So anyway, like, and it's really interesting with this world that there's literally no cell phones because you know that this would be so easily resolved if they could just like go to see each other.
Yeah.
Or not even just that. Like, why did like later on Nick ends up with Wardwell in the woods and he's like, no, you shouldn't have done that. Why couldn't he just like appear? Because normally he just like appears, right?
Exactly.
Like,
there's so many things.
There's so many moments where you're just like, how can you just like flash there? Like it's faster and it's less dramatic. But anyway, whatever, it happens. And so as that happens, he like gets there and he's like, no, you like literally done fucked up. You like made through, you went through the last part of the prophecy.
Yeah.
You killed yourself and now the Dark Lord is going to come through. So as soon as she kills like the Mandrake dies, there's like electricity that hits the table and like explodes everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're like, he is coming. The Dark Lord is coming now. And I'm like, oh, shit. It's like a serious situation now. So that's what happens. And then that's the
it was a really cool. It was a really cool moment because like the light kind of flashes for a second and like the camera's still on Sabrina's face and the light flashes for like a second and you see like her that it's like her face changes. Did you notice that?
Oh yeah.
It she fucking does. Freaked me out. I had to rewatch that because I was like, it was so cool. Like her eyes went white. What does that
mean?
Yeah, like it was so cool the way they did it.
Yeah, for sure. She's like, he is here now. And she's like, da da da. So it all ends there. So I have 2 questions for you now that the episode's over. Number 1. What's going to happen to her powers? Like, she's fucking done now? Like, she's not going to have any powers anymore?
I don't know how this is going to go.
Like, it's going to be such a weird finale, but I don't know how they're going to wrap this all up. But, like, she's literally going in to meet the Dark Lord with 0 powers, which is kind of concerning. But now, going to that point, now that Wardwell is found out, do you think that she's going to turn on the like Dark Lord and be like, okay, fine, Sabrina, like we can be on the same team?
I'm sure it's gonna get to that point.
Like hates her?
I'm sure it's gonna get. I don't know if it's gonna happen right away, but I'm sure that's what's gonna happen in season 3, where like they're gonna have to work together to like bring down the Dark Lord.
Yeah, for sure. So that's the end of the episode. Did we miss anything else? I feel like we blasted kind of through that, but it was a really good episode.
It was really good. Yeah, the duel was really good.
The duel is really good. The episode was really tight. Like we said, like these last couple episodes have been really, really entertaining to watch, and they focus on like maybe 2 or 3 major points to wrap up the whole episode, and then you're just like entertained the entire time. I love the whole Mandrake duality situation where she had to decide whether or not she wanted to kill herself. Like I thought it was really, really well done. But that being said, let's get into our recap roundups.
Recap roundups.
Best moment. moment I think is gonna go to, I did love that Sabrina like face flashing thing at the end. It was really creepy and really cool.
Yeah.
But I do have to say I did love the scene with like Prudence, Zelda and Blackwood, and just like their dynamic together, and like how Prudence, I was like rooting for. I was like, girl, like come on, like don't trust him.
Just come through.
I was kind of just like waiting to see like when she's gonna break apart, and the way that all kind of went down was a really cool way of like Zelda threatening to kill her, and then he doesn't give a shit, and yeah, I like the way that all went down.
It was really well done. And it is interesting to see how finally after all of this he basically just dashes Prudence away in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, and like the whole time you're like, she needed a daddy, but maybe she just needed a mommy too. Like
she needed a mommy, it's so true. Yeah, for sure. And Zelda does bring that, even like the 5 seconds that she's being a mom. Sure. She's like, girl, like you need to like get your life together. He's not a good man. He's gonna fuck you over.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing. I'm excited now that Prudence, because I think we've been asking for it for such a long time. Like, when is Prudence gonna get over herself? Like, when is she gonna be a normal person? And now it looks like she's gonna have to help the Spellmans, which is cool because I love Prudence, and I hope that now that she's on the right side of everything, she'll be able to be a bigger help. My best moment is going to go to the Mandrake versus Sabrina showdown, because I just thought it was like visually appealing. It was really cool to see. Even the back and forth. I know that we split it up in the episode, but like seeing the back and forth and how, Nick is finding out this whole situation while the showdown is happening. You're like, fuck, like don't do that. Don't do it. Don't kill her. And then you're like, oh shit, this is all going down right now. I thought that it was really well done.
WTF moment.
What was your WTF moment?
WTF moment, I think, has to go to Hilda, just because she was so like quiet in this episode, but she did end up murking Methuselah.
Oh my god, yeah. It was so random though. It was
very random, but it was like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And I just can't wait to see, the repercussions of like what that leads to.
100%. My WTF moment is going to the Mandrake Sabrina making all those twins, and like us seeing what she was doing. She like had them in the woods and they were like coming to life, and it was really creepy, and I was like, girl, what were you gonna do with that shit?
Yeah.
She's like, I just want my friends. Yeah.
MVP.
Who's your MVP?
My MVP is gonna go to Theo. I think for obviously like what we said, for not wanting to change, even when she was like offered everything that like she's wanted. She's like, no, I'm good. Like, I love myself.
Yeah.
Like, I'm cool. This is me. And then also for like saving her effing friends. Like, she's coming in so clutch.
He like went in and like smashed those heads. He didn't even give a shit. He was like, I'm gonna do this for my friends. I was like, you're pretty boss ass now. My MVP is gonna go to Mandrake Sabrina, because I just think that she was cool. Like we see Kiernan Shipka and we see like how she acts as Sabrina on the day-to-day. Even though it was Kiernan Shipka playing herself, it was a different, like, I don't know how to explain it, but like, did you experience like a different like side to Kiernan?
I think it's also interesting to see your main character in a different way, because you're so used to seeing her with like one, motivation and one mission, and like to see it flipped, like kind of how we got like a Dark Betty in Riverdale. Like you want to see that character in a different like mode. So that was really cool, and it all made sense and it all worked for this episode. So yeah, like it was cool to see her that way. Would I want her to be like that all the time? No, but it was cool to see that for sure.
Yeah, and I loved her, even though again it was sad. Like even when she died, I was like, I miss you, even though she's like not real. I was like, I love you, girl. LVP. Who's your LVP?
My LVP, I think, is gonna go to Wardwell, because I was just like, girl, I feel like your plan really didn't work. Like, you made this freaking Adam boyfriend guy, and he couldn't even kill a naked girl in a bathtub.
Yeah,
like he like the plan sucked. And then like and then she kind of like, you would think she has all of this power, but somehow when Nick came over and he was like, I'm gonna tie you with this invisible rope and you're gonna stay here, and she kind of just stayed there. I was like, oh, okay.
She can't do anything.
I was like, she's not gonna do anything. Okay,
she's pretty useless.
So I kind of was like, oh, okay, that's it.
Yeah, I guess so. My LVP is going to Sabrina for being so fucking hasty. Like, I feel like this character, and they play it really well, and she hasn't been annoying probably like the last couple episodes up until this episode specifically. And I like that she's not annoying all the time, because if she was this hasty in every single moment, which she is, but this one especially, I was like, girl, like, not everything has to be like on a fucking time crunch. She's like running around like with her head cut off. Half the information is like correct, and she obviously goes and fucks everything up. So I know it's like a core of who she is. She's like the Archie. Like, I keep saying that she's like the Archie of this show. And Archie obviously does some really dumb shit too. But I think that, you know, seeing it in like little tiny like ingestible moments is fine. I just don't want her to be a fucking dumbass the entire series, because I'm going to be like, I can't get behind your character at all. You know?
The best line. My best line is going to go to Sabrina when she says, I'm going to find and kill my double. Then I'll be back to kill you.
Ooh.
To Wardwell. And I was like, okay. I'm like, you're going to put in the work this episode? Cool.
And then she doesn't.
And then she doesn't.
She
doesn't end up even killing her. So that doesn't really matter.
Useless.
Yeah.
My best line is going to go to Wardwell when she says to, I think she says it to Nick, like, you cannot beat the Dark Lord at this game.
Yeah.
Like, you think that you can beat him? Like, guys, he's coming. Like, next episode, he's gonna be here now. And shit's gonna go down. Like, I feel like it's gonna be a very interesting episode to see. And it's gonna be interesting even more to see how far they push it with his character. Because he's supposed to be this, like, all-powerful, like, lord. Like, he's basically like a god at this point, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how this girl who has no powers, her like family who's like in shambles right now, how they're going to go up against him. And like, I wonder and I hope that Wardwell is going to come through and like find a way to make this all like right, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because I definitely feel like she has come around quite a bit this past these past few episodes, and seeing her character arc become something really interesting by the end of it will be cool for her. Like, I'm rooting for her too, you know?
For sure, yeah.
That is the episode, guys. We blasted through that shit real quick. So our final announcements of the episode, we want to thank our patrons of the episode, our Rewinder squad. We got White and Wesley, and our Lit Rewinders, Tina Ann, Sarge, Serena, and Kate, and Soleil. And our Mommy Rewinders, Becca, Sarah, and Tamala.
And if you would like to join our Patreon family, check us out at patreon.com/recap_rewind. If you join, you'll get access to all things Recap Rewind, exclusive content, and updates.
And also make sure you guys are checking us out on all of our socials, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and you can find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iTunes. Like, subscribe, follow, review, and comment to stay engaged with us at Recap Rewind. Thanks so much for listening.
Bye.